The truth is, it marked my life, it broke me down. I felt a lot of fear, even now I'm scared because it happened to me here.
How are you doing, friends? Welcome. Today we have two truly impressive cases. On one hand, a cursed house where a family even had to escape from this place. And the apparent cause of everything that happens is truly outrageous in every sense. And finally, we go to the La Plata prison, where an inmate shares with all of us something that happens inside there. What about the jailers? The staff here knows it's real. You can send your paranormal experience to the WhatsApp number on the screen. The number or length of voice messages you send doesn't matter. You can add photos, videos, or anything else needed to make your story complete. Then, if your story is selected and I have any questions, I'll be reaching out to you. Thank you so much to everyone who is supporting the channel. Let's start this new paranormal episode. Enjoy! I have a story that, although it's not very long, I can assure you that what I experienced in that place was true terror. And the cause might be even more chilling. Let me tell you, this entity is still aggressive even today. It even dragged two people by their hair not long ago, pulling them off the bed. It's something interesting for many and surely terrifying for so many others. I live in the United States, but I was born in El Salvador, exactly where what you're about to hear happened. More precisely, in my family's house, my parents, my siblings, who were victims of something that could be described as evil. Although, of course, I would like to hear the opinion of anyone who listens to this and has more knowledge about these topics.
Bye.
Luckily, I managed to settle in quickly, I started working, and in this way, I helped my family from a distance. During these months, something key happened in this story. My dad managed to get a house at a good price to move into. It was a kind of trade for the land we had, plus a bit of money that I sent them. That's how my family finally had a comfortable house in good condition to start a new chapter, which, unexpectedly, was terrifying. By the way, because no one told us that the property was cursed. Shortly after we moved in, if not immediately, very strange things started to happen. Like strange noises or tapping on the ceiling, floor and walls that made no sense at all. I mean, nothing was causing them, at least not that we could see. But as the weeks went by, it became almost normal to hear one or several people, just to put it simply, walking on the roof. The roof was sheet metal, so every step was clear, but when we checked, no one was there. And we completely ruled this out. I'm mentioning this because many of you might assume the noises were just normal sheet metal sounds from temperature changes, but these were very different. But what about the floor, the walls, and the ones that didn't make sense, walls like that? Luckily, these events were limited to just that. They were noises and sensations that only served to alert us. On January the 13th, 2001 at 11:33 in the morning, one of the worst disasters known occurred in El Salvador. A 7.8 magnitude earthquake caused a real disaster, not only in terms of material losses but also human losses. 944 people died.
On Saturday, January 13, 2001, at 11:34 in the morning, a powerful earthquake occurred that lasted 45 seconds. With a magnitude of 7 and a depth of 57 kilometers, it mainly affected a large part of the municipalities in the department of La Libertad. The most serious was in Santa Tecla, in the Las Colinas neighborhood, where a mass of 150 cubic meters of earth broke off from the Balsamo mountain range.
This is another story, but I mention it because that day our house practically collapsed completely. To make matters worse, on February 13th, a month later, a new earthquake shook our country, destroying what little was still standing. It took us almost 6 or 7 months to rebuild our home. It was a lot of work and money. But above all, there was anxiety and uncertainty, not knowing if a new tremor would destroy everything again. Luckily, we managed to finish it, and my sisters, who were living alone at that time, had a home again. And the curious thing is that the house had changed, it was different. But apparently, the energy that inhabited that land hadn't disappeared because it kept manifesting itself. And what was even worse, its behavior became more aggressive, as if it blamed us for having changed the house after the earthquake. Time passed with this paranormal activity, but then our lives changed again. 2 years later, my dad became seriously ill, and without unnecessary details, his partner, who wasn't our mother, left him. At that point, my dad, with nowhere to go, moved into my sister's house. In that new house where this entity showed its discomfort every day. And you might ask yourself, how did it show this anger? How did we notice? Now, the banging was even more intense at any time, many times, and everyone felt it. You were walking anywhere in the house and an invisible force would hit you or push you really hard against the wall. But the most chilling thing was that my dad, a few days after moving into the house, started seeing something that no one had noticed until then. He would see a little boy walking through different corners of the house who would just pass by and then disappear because there was absolutely no one in the rooms. From his room, he often saw him passing through the hallway to the kitchen or bathroom and in his room at night. It was something incredible. And a mistake he made out of pure ignorance was giving him a name. He nicknamed this ghost boy as Seferino. And he did it affectionately since it didn't scare him. It hadn't done anything to him, it just walked around the house and he saw it as just another companion. It turned out that in December 2005 my dad died, and from that moment on, this boy was seen by everyone in the house. Just like my dad used to do, going from one place to another, but now he was angry. He would throw things, move furniture, bump into you, and systematically attack my sisters at all hours. It was practically impossible for them to sleep because there was no place in the house where he wasn't around. He even went as far as to bite them. While my dad was there, the boy or entity seemed to grow attached to him, possibly because he named it. I don't know. But his death was a turning point. My sisters lived there for a few more years until they decided to leave it. And partly because of the crime that was plaguing El Salvador in those years, and partly because of this entity that wouldn't leave them alone. It was abandoned for a few years until my uncle lived in it again. And maybe some might think that time made this entity go away, but it didn't happen. Now.
What's happening in the house is that the boy is always being seen there. He has pulled the hair of the girls who live there. He has practically dragged them out of bed by their hair. He has bitten one of them on the back. And well, they keep staying in that house because they don't have another option. There's no other place they can go because they don't have a home. There's no way, they can't stand the boy anymore. And the boy appeared to my cousin's mom there. The boy told her that all he wants is to have a mom.
Currently, they don't know what to do because life within those walls has become unbearable and dangerous since this energy is more aggressive than ever. Here's the most curious part I saved for last. Only a few meters from our house, another family experienced a similar apparition. But their luck wasn't the same. In that family, they tried to fight against this thing in multiple ways. Apparently, their youngest son died in a way no one ever truly understood. From what little is known, he had been possessed, and within a matter of weeks, he withered away, as they say. Out of respect, I can't share many details about this family, but there's more. Is there a fact that could be the answer to why all this paranormal activity is happening? Many years later, we found out that right across from our house, there lived a married couple where the man, mainly, was dedicated to witchcraft. He performed dark necromancy rituals. And even though this is just a story passed around by word of mouth among neighbors, we are certain that it's true. One of his sons died in a rather confusing incident, and they decided to avoid all legal procedures, even having him taken to a cemetery. That very same night, they buried him at the back of an empty lot without any kind of marker. They abandoned him in an unmarked grave. Specifically, that lot was the one my old man got, where our house was filled with paranormal activity that eventually drove my family out. And that now haunts the new tenants who, from my point of view, are in a lot of danger. On February 19th of this year, I was incarcerated in Unit 45 of Melchor Romero in the La Plata prison. I arrived at around 4 in the afternoon. First, they took me to a control room where they ask for certain information and things that aren't really important. And once that was done, they left me in a room until 8 at night. They took me out and moved me to a holding cell where I stayed until the next day. These are small cells where prisoners are left completely alone, waiting for whatever action is decided in the following hours. And this is where everything happened.
The truth is, it marked my life. It's like I was really scared, and I'm still afraid because it happened here. No.
I insist that I was completely alone, and it was in the middle of the night. I later learned it was about 2:15. A kid shows up walking out of the holding cell, looks at me, greets me, and even reaches out his hand to shake mine. I approached him, greeted him, and he asked me if I needed anything. Look, to be honest, I was pretty suspicious. He wasn't a guard, and it wasn't a time when another inmate could be outside the cell. So I kept looking at him, told him no, and the next thing was that he stared straight into my eyes. He didn't let go of my hand at any moment, and he said to me, "Be very careful in here." He released me and slowly walked to the side. I don't know how to explain it, but I felt something so horrible when he looked me in the eyes that it left me feeling bad, because I still didn't really understand who he was or why he had done this. Around 20 minutes later, he returned, but not from the same direction. He returned from the other side, which confused me further since, in theory, there was no way through that area. And again, he did exactly the same thing. He asked me if I needed anything, told me to take care, and left. The difference this second time was that I kept watching him as he left, and that's when I got really scared. He walked a few steps and right before my eyes disappeared. He was likely about 5 meters away, not much farther. Therefore, I saw him clearly and distinctly, even though the place was a bit dark. Without understanding anything at all, I sat on the floor and tried to sleep. I wanted the night to pass as quickly as possible, but there was still something else. While I had my eyes closed, I heard a noise, and when I opened them, I saw this same guy standing there staring at the wall. He stood with his back to me in the cell, though no one had unlocked or opened the gate at any time. I was so scared that I closed my eyes and started screaming desperately for the guard. I was terrified until I heard someone approaching, and when I opened my eyes, there was no one else with me. He had disappeared again. I told the guard everything. I was crying and couldn't take it anymore. I don't know why, whether he liked me or had another reason, but they took me out and I was in another section, closely watched by them until they finally transferred me to the cell block. Something remarkable happened during those hours. This same supervisor told me that I wasn't the first or the only one to see this ghost. And not only that, they believe it's a young man who was murdered a few years ago in that same place fighting with another inmate. And since that moment, he never stopped appearing during the night, whether it's to the new inmates or even to the prison staff.
The truth is, I can't understand why it happened to me and why he told me to be careful. I don't know if that was a sign for me to understand how things work here, to be careful. I don't understand or know. Honestly, it really scared me. I was later with my partner, with my bunkmate, as they say here. He also told me that something similar happened to him, just like my situation. But when he went out to see my little room, when he was sitting, he told me that it appeared to him just like it did to A, but this time it was sitting next to him, and it also asked him some things, and when he blinked, we were gone.
Thanks for staying until the end. Hope you enjoyed these stories. Something strange is happening in this place. The mysterious case of the house in Armenia, Nervustrack. And now I send a big hug to all of you. Bye bye.